I've met everyone. Oh, I've got a new friend from Finland, just sat next to him on the plane. I do think it changes you. I actually don't think there's a better way to experience a culture than volunteering. Next thing you know, you're learning how to speak Icelandic. So many people that go on their own. Like, I went to Ghana on my own, but I've never felt alone. I went alone, but I never was alone.
Hey, I'm Hana from International Volunteer Headquarters, and I just had the most amazing discussion today with Jess Chadwick, who is almost a 9-time volunteer with IVHQ. So we're going to jump into a bunch of discussions around what it's like for first-time volunteers, what it's like to female solo travel, what it's like traveling with groups, some funny stories, a lightning round, and Jess is going to tell us all about her experience. So if you're a first-time volunteer or already part of our community, have a listen. Jess, tell us a little bit about where you're from and what do you do day to day?
So I'm from Manchester in the UK. I actually live like 30 minutes outside of Manchester on a farm, so I kind of have the best of both worlds. I live in the countryside, but I can go to the city. Day to day, it can really vary. One day I can be in Fiji, Thailand, or if I'm at home, I work as a waitress. So normally in summer, I'm just waitressing all day.
And then you go travel?
Yeah, go travel. So I mean, I try and travel as much as I can.
And what made you want to travel in the first place? Can you tell us a bit about your first trip that you ever did?
Yeah, so my first trip was, I did IVHQ. I did Ghana for 12 weeks when I was 18. And I knew I wanted to travel, but like everybody kind of goes to Southeast Asia and I just wanted to do something a bit different. So I thought, well, I'll go to Ghana, of all places.
So wait, so you're 18 years old?
Yeah.
From the UK. What makes you think, oh, you know, I want to travel. Everyone does their OE, but you're thinking, oh, I think I want to volunteer. Like what, how did you even think of that?
So my sister actually volunteered with IVHQ in 2009. And my dad was like, said I wanted to go to Africa. And my dad was like, why don't you ask your sister who she went with? Here I am, 4 years later. So I signed up for Ghana and I just wanted to like experience something so different. I'd been to Southeast Asia a lot as a child, so I kind of felt like that's somewhere I knew a lot about, which is the usual like backpacking route. And it was a good way to immerse yourself in a culture. And obviously you don't often get a chance to go to Africa or somewhere like that and really have that like cultural immersive experience.
Did you have any hesitations before you went? Like sometimes I feel like Africa feels so sort of like distant and unfamiliar to a lot of people. Like, did you feel any hesitations before you went?
Yeah, of course. Like everybody has this, you know, perception that Africa's really dangerous. And, you know, once I realized IVHQ were really helpful with like the preparation and the safety, and there was like local support, but once you kind of like do your research, especially when you're volunteering with IVHQ, you have that like reassurance of you're with a local team, and also it's good for like your parents to see as well, because
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Did you find that you had to kind of twist your parents' arms a little bit, or because your sister had gone, they were already like, okay, I guess we can?
Yeah, like because my sister had been, I mean, my dad's quite like chill anyway. He was like, you'll be fine. Obviously my mum worried a bit because I was 18 going to Ghana. But obviously my sister had done it, so because she'd done it, he kind of knew it was a good company, and like we'd obviously done some more research because it had been a while since my sister had gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really good. I loved it.
Good. So in Ghana, what did you do?
I did the childcare for 12 weeks. Yeah.
Amazing. 12 weeks
Yeah.
on your first go. And was it your first trip ever overseas?
Yeah, so that was my first trip, and I kind of got there and everyone was like, oh, I'm staying for 4 weeks. And I was like, oh. And they were a lot older than me, so I was like, what am I doing? And actually it was obviously the best thing ever. I loved it, but I was stressed because I felt like I was the only like long-term volunteer.
That's amazing. And so that was your first trip, but you're about to go on your 9th trip now. What has kept you coming back again with IVHQ and keeping on doing the volunteer travel?
Yeah, I just think it's so like such a good way to travel, because I could go on holiday to Fiji and stay in, you know, in a nice resort. But I think you really, especially living with locals, like that's a massive thing. You get to fully immerse yourself. You can try the food, and like, I actually don't think there's a better way to experience a culture than volunteering, because you're with locals so much and you get to do everything, and they show you like how to use the transport and things that you would never do if you were just on holiday in those places.
Do you feel like any of these trips has changed you as a person?
Yeah, and I feel like my first one, obviously it's a classic. I feel like everyone's first one is like life-changing, because you in this completely new environment. It's so like new to you, and it's like, don't get me wrong, it's overwhelming, because people say like, oh, you're so like strong, but you know, I was 18 months turning up to Ghana on my own. Yeah, it definitely changed me, and like it opens your eyes to like how lucky you are, and how you can help people. Yeah, I loved it. So good.
So a bunch of our community asks a lot of frequently asked questions, and because you've had so much experience, I thought I'd pick your brain a little bit so people can get to know what it's actually like to volunteer and travel abroad. So what does a normal weekday look like on a volunteer placement?
So this is kind of a misconception. I always think people come and they think they're going to have like no free time and, they're going to be volunteering like 12 hours a day. But actually you end up doing like 4 or 5 hours a day, which is actually perfect because you have so much free time. So in the morning, on like a childcare project, for example, in Tanzania, you probably get up about 7:30, have your breakfast at the house. And then you often take local transport to the placements. And you're normally there for about 4 or 5 hours. You can be doing anything. You can be helping with school lunches and assisting with the teaching. When you say like teaching or childcare, you're not just thrown in a classroom full of crazy children and left with them. You often help in the teachers. Like it could be marking, it could be anything. And then like in Tanzania, for example, we will help with school lunches, and then we go home, have our lunch, and then you have that free time in the afternoon and the evening. And the local team can always help you with like things to do in the area, and there's always nice restaurants. So yeah, you have plenty of free time. So that's what like an average weekday looks like.
Cool. And do you find like, I feel like maybe there's like a misconception that, okay, well, I want to volunteer, so I want to be doing like 8-10 hour days. Like, do you find that's like unrealistic, or do you think the free time's important for people?
Yeah, I think a lot of people come and they like say, oh, it's only 4 or 5 hours a day, but once they've done that 4 or 5 hours, they kind of realize that is enough. And, obviously you're there to volunteer, but it is also about going out and exploring and seeing sights. So I do think that definitely it's 4 or 5 hours is the right amount of time. And I think once you've done it, you definitely agree. I think a lot of people come and they're like, oh, I thought I was going to be doing it for like 10 hours a day. But 4 or 5 hours is the perfect amount, definitely.
So how do you balance, obviously we want to be doing the volunteer work, but then we also want to see a bit of the country as well. How do you go about traveling and exploring a little bit while you're there?
Yeah, so I have always found that the local team can help. They can always help you book transport or like weekend trips. And often like if you want to go somewhere at the weekend, they have recommended like local companies to travel with. So yeah, they're always helpful, and they always want obviously for you to be safe. So that's always good.
Awesome. Okay, so what kind of people do you meet on these trips?
I've met everyone. I've met
everyone.
I've met everyone. I've met people who have never been abroad before. I've met 17-year-olds. I've met 80-year-olds. It can be for anyone. And I think that is another misconception, is it's just for young people. Anyone can go. And yeah, and I always think it's really impressive when it's someone's first trip. Someone came to Zambia on my group trip, and that was her first trip abroad. And yeah, she loved it. Really impressive. So it is for everyone, and I meet everyone.
Yeah. I feel like you would also have like quite like a good amount of empathy for people doing it on their own. I mean, you were 18 going to Ghana.
Yeah. Like a lot of people come on their own. Some people come, you can do it with your sister, you can do it with your mom. But I always, like some people have come on their own and they've never met anyone and not spoke to anyone before. But yeah, everyone ends up loving it. So.
And do you feel like relationships form really quickly with
so
people?
Quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. That's another thing. Like people think, oh, I'm not going to make friends. But like, I would say like 80-90% of people go on their own, and that's like, everybody's in the same boat, so they have to make friends, and it's so easy to make friends. It's like going to a hostel. You say, oh, hi, where are you from? Next thing you know, you're learning how to speak Icelandic. Like, you can make friends with anyone. Maybe I can't, but
maybe you can.
Maybe I can. I love talking.
Yeah. I love it. That's so good. What's something that you wish you knew before your first placement?
I feel like before you go, you always think, you're going to be left with a big class and you're going to be expected to be this super teacher. But like I said, you're often there to just help out. Like you can end up helping with things like school lunches and marking homework and getting the books ready. So it's a lot more chill, and like you can always ask the local team if you're struggling, and they will, they don't want you to feel uncomfortable. So they always make sure you're happy at your placements.
Okay, cool. So you don't have to be an expert in anything. It's just about like getting amongst it, putting yourself out there. And if you're uncertain, the team will help you.
There's never too much pressure, and everyone just wants you to have a good time.
Good. Okay, awesome. And what's been the most meaningful moment for you on the project?
Went back to Ghana last year. So I went to Ghana for the first time. It was my first trip in 2021. And then I went back in 2024. So actually 2 years ago, because it's 2026. And I went back to see one of the families that I'd met at the school. And Ishra, the daughter, she was 2 when I was in Ghana in 2021, and now she's 5. But that was lovely. Like, I got to see how she's grown up, and she's doing well at school, and her siblings are as well. And her mum is actually the teacher at the school, so that was really nice.
Oh my God, that's so amazing.
Sweet.
That's so sweet. And when we're traveling, obviously you have like really good days. Sometimes you have really bad days, and that's kind of just like part of the experience. What is like a hard day that you've had, and how have you gotten through it, or who's helped you through it?
There's one that like really stands out. It was when I was in Ghana for the first time, and we had the placement in Ghana can be quite rural, so the power can go out sometimes, and it had gone out for 24 hours, which was a bit of a disaster, but that's very rare that happens. And the fans weren't working, and I was actually dehydrated, so I was really ill, and I texted my mum and I was like, I'm coming home. But I'm too stubborn, so I was like, I'm coming home, but like, I'm not actually coming home. And I kind of had this low moment where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And because I was having a bad day, that's all it was. It wasn't, it wasn't the volunteering. It was just me and myself. And I was like, I'm going home. And I texted my mom, and then I was like, but I don't want to go home and be like, I couldn't do it. So actually I stuck it out, but I'm so glad I stuck it out now. Like, I look back and I think, oh, that was such a good decision to get through it. But it's so normal to have a bad day.
Yeah. What would you like if someone's traveling and experience like a little speed bump, like what would be your advice to them?
Speaking to your family is a really good one. Or even your friends. You can call your friends at home, the local staff, like your new friends at the volunteer like just talking, because the people you meet volunteering as well, they will also have bad days. So that's really, really normal.
Yeah.
But there are way more better days than there are bad.
So you would recommend just like leaning into your family, leaning into the community.
Yeah. And like, it's so normal. Like, I have bad days. People think like, oh, you always travel in. Like, there's some days I just want to go home and sit in my bed. But the good is it's so worth it.
Yeah. Okay. So you've just got to stick it out and get a bit more resilient. I think that's one of the things like with travel, any sort of travel, not just like volunteering, but it does give you like that resilience.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about group travel, because you've recently been to Thailand and Vietnam with a group. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah. So I took a group trip to Thailand and Vietnam. They were separate group trips. I've also done them in Zambia, South Africa, and Tanzania.
Amazing. And how many people are on these group trips?
Can be anything. I've had like 10 people. Tanzania had 40. So
that's a lot of people.
Yeah, really busy. That was hard work. Obviously, 40 people is a lot of people, but there's so many friendships come of that as well.
Yeah, I imagine actually. Do you keep in touch with like all these people?
Yeah, not all of them, because I've met so many people, and even like outside of my group trips, I've met so many people just traveling and volunteering. But I do keep in touch with it a lot, and obviously a lot of us are from the UK, so we don't actually live that far from each other.
Oh, yeah, that's so true. And I know you're not supposed to play favourites, but is there anyone on the group trip that's like stood out to you and that you've had like a really good relationship with?
Yeah, there was a lady called Manel from Canada. I love Manel. She's 62, and she's the oldest volunteer that's been on my group trips. And I absolutely love this woman. She smashed it. She did everything. We did Culture Week in Thailand, and she came to Vietnam as well. So she did 8 weeks altogether at 62. She retired this year, I think, and she did IVHQ Kenya last year.
That's actually amazing. So I feel like a lot of people think, oh, like we get the question all the time, am I too old to volunteer?
I don't think you're ever too old to volunteer. I think it's open for everyone. And Manel is a great example of that. If you're willing to get stuck in and get involved and experience something new, then it's open for everyone.
Because that's one of the questions that we get with our mature volunteers. They ask, will I have anybody my age going, or will I be too old to go? Like, what would you kind of say to that?
Yeah, like I think you have to be open to meeting a lot of younger people as well if you're older, because it can be predominantly younger people. But Manel was a great example. She never felt like she couldn't do something because she was old, and she always gave it a go. And everybody who met her said how amazing she was.
Oh, that's so nice. Love that.
Yeah,
and
I miss her.
She's like your favorite.
She is my favorite. I really need to go to Canada to see her. So Manel, if you're watching this, I will be going to Canada.
Let's go to Canada.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I love that. And you were talking about Culture Week. What is that? Can you tell us a bit about
Yeah, so in Thailand and Vietnam, they have something on the program called Culture Week. It's an optional add-on, and it's basically the whole 5 days, Monday to Friday, in the local area. So for example, in Thailand, we did temples, we did a cooking class, we did a language class, we did Thai boxing, which is not my thing.
Really?
Not good at Thai boxing.
You're not going to Thai box?
I was kind of
right
dreading
now?
it because I'm not a sports girl, so Thai boxing was not for me. But do you know who did smash it?
Manel?
I would not fight with Manel. She can Thai box.
Okay, good.
And then in Vietnam, it was quite similar, but obviously it was Vietnamese culture. We tried Vietnamese food and we made Vietnamese food, and we tried to learn Vietnamese, but it's really, really hard because it's like a lot of it's a tonal language, I think. So it's like the same word means different things, but different tones.
Yeah,
I'm not very good at it.
Do you think it's good to do Culture Week?
100%. I think it's it's a good way to get to know everyone as well, because a lot of people do it in their first week. They've just arrived, and it's a great like bonding experience. And it's nice to do something outside of the volunteering as well and like get you prepared for the local area.
100%. I reckon there's nothing that bonds you faster than like you all being in a situation you just don't know.
Yeah.
You all just have to kind of jump in together.
Yeah, us trying to cook spring rolls together on the first day in Thailand really bonded us. There was maybe about 15 of us doing Culture Week that time. It was really good. I loved it.
And so the people who do Culture Week together usually go into the volunteer placement together, or is it different?
So they were doing different volunteer projects. You know, some people were doing teaching, some people were doing the construction program. I was doing childcare.
So who do you think like group travel is best for?
I think group travel is best for anyone. I think anyone can come, you know. You could be 18, it could be your first trip. You could be really well travelled. It's a good way. But I also think it's like particularly good for people who are nervous because it gives them that comfort. Like I can always help them. Obviously, I've been to a lot of volunteer destinations. So I have that experience to help people and just put them at ease.
Do you think there's quite a big difference between going as a group or going by yourself?
Yeah, I would say there's a bit of a difference. Obviously, you get to kind of know everyone before you go. But even if you go on your own to the volunteer projects, there's so many people that go on their own. Like I went to Ghana on my own, but I've never felt alone. I went alone, but I never was alone.
Sometimes when you go with a group, it can be, I mean, you get the safety, you get the familiarity, and you have that like support all the time. But sometimes you also like me, like I would be like, oh, I kind of want a little bit of alone time. Like if you say you want to go with a group, but you also really value maybe doing things independently, like is that an option? What does that look like?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, you do live in like shared accommodation unless you pay for a private room upgrade. I myself love my own time. I love talking and I love meeting people, but sometimes, especially if you're traveling for a long time, it can get overwhelming, and in a house full of 40 people and you're in a country you don't know. But I do think it's important to take your own time. Like sometimes I go out for lunch on my own or even go to the pool, but there's definitely time for yourself.
Okay.
You can definitely, especially in your afternoons when you finish the volunteer projects.
Do you have any tips for someone like who is a bit more shy, but they want to do a group trip?
Yeah, I would say that's something you should definitely do. Like if you are feeling a bit shy, I feel like a group trip's a good option because you get to know people. And also like there's so many people in the same boat. Like so there's so many people that feel shy. And by the end, like I've met people who were so shy at first, and by the end they're like a completely different person. I do think it changes you and you become more, I think because you meet so many people, you become more open and you like, yeah, you should definitely give it a go.
Do you have like a moment? I mean, you're in Tanzania with 40 girls. Was it just girls or was it a group
Yeah,
of
it was
people?
just girls. In Zambia, there was one guy. He came with his girlfriend.
Oh, that's actually
They're now having a baby.
Are they? That's actually so cute.
They didn't meet on my trip, but they did come on the Zambia trip together. But yeah, it's predominantly girls.
Okay, so you went on this group trip. Did you have any like standout moment or like funny moments that you remember from any of your group trips?
It's so hard because I've had so many good moments. But I will say a funny moment, we went to the Maasai half-day trip, which is like a day trip. So you go to the Maasai tribe, which is in like rural Tanzania.
Oh, yeah.
It's about maybe like a 2-3 hour drive. And you go and you see how they live because they live so different. So they like live in the middle of nowhere, basically. And they do this special dance where they jump up and down. And you don't realize how high they're jumping until you put the volunteers from my trip next to them and ask them to jump.
So you don't have to go on a group trip solo though, right? Like you could bring a friend.
Absolutely
or
not.
A sister or whatever.
Yeah, so there was some people that came with their friends or their sister. I do think though, like most people do come on their own. So if you are on your own, don't worry. But if you want to come with your sister, your friend from home, it's a really good like memory to have together, definitely.
Cute. I love that. Awesome. So we talked a little bit about groups, but a lot of our community is actually young women. So I thought we could talk a little bit about solo female travel, how to keep yourself safe. You've done so much travel by yourself, so I'm really keen to like just hear your take on it. Did you have any sort of like safety worries when you first went, and how did IVHQ help you through that?
Yeah, like I said with Ghana, like it's your first time, you don't know what to expect. And I think the online portal is really good because you have the checklist. So you know what vaccines to get or that are advised, and you know what to pack, and you have that whole list to go through, and that definitely prepares you for the trip so you don't feel like you're missing out on anything.
Okay, and say you're by yourself, you arrive, you're in a new country, you land in the airport, like what can someone expect?
So when I landed in Ghana, I kind of landed, it was late at night, I was like, where am I? And it hits you that you're in this country, you're in West Africa, for example, or wherever you are in the world, and you're on your own and you're 18 or however old. And once you leave the airport, the staff are always there. They have this big sign that says IVHQ or Ghana, whatever, and you know that that's your person to go to, and then they can help you get to your program, and they're always there, or if they're not there, they always tell you where to wait for them, and it's really reliable, so you don't have to stress about coming out the airport and being lost.
So before you even get there, you've got like support from the team, and like how does that whole thing work? Can you just call someone up if you need help? Are you talked through things before you get there? Like how does that all work?
Yeah, so you have your program manager. They're always there to help. They work at the office, and often you can just email and ask a question and they get back to you really quickly. So, you know, there's some questions that I've asked before and now I know the answer to, and that's helped me with other trips. It's really chill. You can just email, and they do have some free numbers as well if it's like something you need to know quicker that you can just call up on.
And you've got like the local team on the ground as well, right? So if there's any issues, you can talk to them.
Yeah, often once you're there, if there's something you need help with, it's just easier to talk to the local team. And they're always really helpful, especially because they're locals and it's their country.
Yeah, so do you feel like there's like that added benefit of like when you get there, you're staying with the local team, local host and everything like that? So is that sort of part of feeling a little bit safer within the country?
Yeah, especially, for example, in Vietnam, I felt really, really safe. But like at the placement, the teachers didn't speak English. But obviously the staff were there with us from the volunteer project, and they could speak to them in Vietnamese. And that's a good example of like feeling like you're safe and you have that reassurance of someone that can speak the local language. And the local staff always try to teach you the local language. Some languages are easier than others. I can speak a decent amount of Swahili, but Vietnamese is where I draw the line.
It's not for you.
And Thai. Can't speak any Thai or Vietnamese.
What do you do? Do you do anything like when you get into a country, a new place? Is there any like sort of checklist that you have in your head of like, how do I keep myself safe? Or
yeah, I feel like it's always good to, you know, get a SIM card, and that's something that the local staff can help with. Just contacting family, and I always make sure whilst I'm away that my family has my live location, not even when I'm volunteering, you know, when I'm traveling Japan on my own or Korea, anything like that, I always have my live location on, and, you know, just, you know, I send a passport copy to my parents, insurance copy, and just making sure everything's in check. I feel like it's good to be organised.
Oh, yeah.
It's always a good plan.
In terms of before you travelled versus once you started travelling and getting a bit more familiar, are there things and habits that you have now, like when you're going abroad, that you didn't have or that you've like started doing? Like, do you have a lock on your backpack? Do you send your live locations? Like, are there like things that you do now that you didn't when you first
Yeah, there are definitely things. Another thing I would say is travel insurance. Obviously, I've always had travel insurance, but if you like wanting to do something like a skydive or horse riding, you have to check that your travel insurance definitely covers that. So I always like go through the fine print and like double check everything. And again, sending copies to my parents, and often even printing a second copy out of like your insurance and your passport and just everything. Like printing things out is always good because if your phone breaks, you've got backup.
And what about, okay, so obviously volunteering, you're having fun with lots of friends, things like that, and then maybe like you want to go out for dinner somewhere new, or you're actually like maybe going on a little bit of like an excursion. Are there tips that you have for traveling in new places with new people that keep yourself safe?
Yeah, I think a good one is a phone lanyard. I know it sounds really generic, but you can often find that people your phone's out is an expensive thing. So just keep watching your bag, and staying together as a group is always a good one. Safety in numbers. Often, like when there was 40 of us, we couldn't all be together at once. But even if that was like groups of 5, like staying together as a group is always good, and just being aware of your surroundings, watching your bag, just being generally safe wherever you would in the world.
Yeah. Okay. And do you feel like you kind of lean on the local team as well? Like, will they say to you, hey, like, these are the best places to go? And...
Yeah. They, you can find somewhere online and say, oh, I'm going to go here. And they're like, that's probably not the best place to go. And they know best. They know better than anyone. And they obviously want the best for you. And they will tell you, like, the good places to eat, like the clean and safe places to eat, and where to go for food, and literally anywhere. They can always help.
How do you feel like, obviously you've done heaps of travel, but do you feel like there's a difference with traveling with IVHQ and being placed with like a host family and a local organization? Like, does it make a difference for how you experience?
Yeah, I definitely think you can like immerse yourself more in a culture. Once you're living with locals, and like the food's a massive one, because you try and things that you would never be eating at home, and like experiencing everything, like the way they live. Like in Ghana, we had bucket showers, which is like really local. You get to like really immerse yourself. Whereas if you go on a holiday to somewhere like Tanzania, you might stay in a nice hotel and not have that like cultural experience. You like really learn a lot.
Cool.
For sure.
I love that. And do you have like a little checklist in your mind of just like being able to have fun but still stay safe?
Yeah, there's a rule that I say. There's 3 things that you need no matter what. So every time I like move on from a place, I always check if I have my passport, a bank card, and my phone. I feel like everything else is replaceable. Clothes are replaceable. Even if you don't have a charger, you can go buy a charger. So that's like, no matter what, I always check that, when I land, before I get on a plane, because once you've got on the plane and you've gone, you can't go back. But yeah, that's like my rule and checklist. And obviously your travel insurance, your phone, everything.
Okay. But the top 3 things are...
Yeah, no matter what. Well, you need travel insurance as well.
Yeah.
So travel insurance, top 4, travel insurance, phone, passport, bank card. Then we're good to go.
Okay. Do you have any like culture specific advice for anybody like who's a bit nervous about going somewhere completely new?
Yeah, I would say that you've obviously got to be really open-minded, and I think learning a bit of the language is always good, because people are often like really impressed with that, especially like when I'm in Tanzania or Kenya and I can speak, I can probably speak a bit more Swahili than you would learn in like 4 weeks, but to know the basics is always really good, and people are always impressed by it.
Are people quite receptive?
Yeah, they're like, oh, you can speak Swahili, or well, I would say Vietnamese, but I'm not very good at that. But people really appreciate it, and like dressing appropriately for the places is a massive one, especially at like placements. You could wear something like this covered up, or when you're at a temple, for example, it's important to be really respectful.
Could you give me your top 3 tips for female solo travelers?
Yeah, my top 3 tips for female solo travelers would be definitely to be organised. I feel like once you're organised, you have that clarity of, this is what I'm doing, these are the dates I'm going. Another one would be to be aware of your surroundings. I think it's really important to stay safe, because you can feel more vulnerable when you're on your own. So just making sure you know where all your belongings are. And like I said, a phone lanyard's really good, just so you can like keep it around your neck and make sure that nobody grabs your phone.
What's one thing that you would say to mum and dad who might be worried about their daughter going traveling for the first time?
Yeah, I think this is really normal. I have a lot of messages from parents who are like really concerned about where their child is going or their daughter's going. And I think it's important to, reassure them, like let them see the IVHQ website and read through it all. They can reassure themselves once they've seen how legit it is, and other people's experiences like mine, they can go through my social media and see it all.
And they could set up a call with one of our program managers,
absolutely.
Right?
So They can set up a call with them, and then they can ask the program managers questions. And it's so normal for parents to feel at ease, that you're their child, and especially if it's your first trip. My parents were nervous as well. But it's important to understand why they feel like that is so valid.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the benefits with traveling with like an established organization, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh. Can I ask, I haven't asked this yet, but did you have, like, what was your biggest fear before your first trip?
My biggest fear, honestly, I think it was just the unknown. Like, I really didn't know what to expect. I obviously had read the program guide, so I had an idea, but I feel like because I'd never been in that environment, I like couldn't visualize it. And it was obviously 3 months is a long time, 12 weeks. I didn't really know how that whole 12 weeks was going to go. I didn't realize how much it was going to change me, to be honest. It definitely like opened my eyes. And it's just, I guess it's the unexpected was what I was most nervous about. Like when I walked into Manchester airport with my backpack, I was 18. I was like, what am I doing? You know? But I think within the first few days, I was like, this was the best decision ever.
How would you describe Jess at the start of that trip and at the end of that trip?
Like completely different. I've always liked talking, so I've always been I can always make friends. But I didn't realize it wasn't even just the volunteering that changed like how I see the world, like even the people I met, because you know, you're there to learn about the culture in the country, but you also learn about cultures from all over the world because you have people from all over the world. So there's a lot of people you'll meet volunteering, you've never met someone from that country, and you learn things and you're like, oh, that's like, we don't do it like that in England. Or so you learn a lot even outside of volunteering, or like cooking classes, and you're like, I'm going to go home and make this for my family. Or yeah, it's really nice.
That's really nice. What do you think was your biggest perspective shift after volunteering? Like before you went volunteering, like did you come back and just be like, wow, I'm so lucky?
I think my biggest perspective shift was definitely like coming back and realizing how lucky we are. And, you know, things you take for granted, like having a car at like 18 is such a privilege. And, you know, how lucky we are in the UK and Western countries, and really not taking it for granted, and knowing that you've been able to like make a difference and help people with like their education. And education's a massive thing for a lot of people in other countries, especially poorer countries, because it gives them such an opportunity to go on and do great things.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice. I love that. Okay. So you've traveled with all different kinds of people.
Yeah.
Is there someone, obviously you've had like lots of perspective change and you've learned so much, but is there someone that you've traveled with who like before and after a trip was almost completely different?
Yeah. When I arrived on my great trip in Zambia, there was a girl there, and she, in the first few days, she was like, I really don't like it. I want to go home. And I was like, please just give me a week, like give it a go. And I know that like the first few days are really normal. Like it's really normal to feel like it's hard and you're overwhelmed, because especially if you've traveled a long way, like you're tired. And she stuck it out for the whole 4 weeks. And honestly, she was a different girl by the end. Absolutely loved it. Like she was like, I'm so glad you told me to stay. And I think like to see her go from like, oh, I'm not sure if I like it, to like, this was the best decision ever, was really good, because it definitely changed her.
How do you choose a destination? Because we have a lot to choose from and it can be a bit overwhelming. What would your advice be?
Yeah, I would say rather than choosing the destination first, it might be best to research what programs you think suit you best. You can do that on the website, because there's things like women's empowerment, there's teaching, there's agriculture, and not every country has all the programs available. Okay. So maybe finding something that suits you best, and then, so let's say you decide you want to work with animals, and then you can see what countries offer the animal project. And you can also possibly like combine two countries. So you could do half your trip, so 3 weeks, for example, in South Africa, and then do 3 weeks in Zimbabwe or Tanzania or anywhere really. Like there's a lot of countries that are close together. So I think it's more important to pick the project and then go to the destination. And obviously it's got to be somewhere that you think suits you, and you can read that before you like apply. And you can always look at flights before and see like how far away it is, and just obviously you can do a bit of research. It's always good to like go online on TikTok and have a look if there's any volunteers that have posted have been before. It's always really good.
Yeah, that's some really good advice.
And I post a lot on TikTok. So.
And you post a lot, so like and subscribe to. Yeah. Wait, what's your channel?
TravelwithJess.
TravelwithJess.
Yeah.
Like, follow, subscribe. Okay, and also follow us as well. Okay, and what's my next question? It would be, okay, packing.
Yeah.
How do you do it? What do you do? What's your advice? Especially for different countries, because they are very different.
Yeah, I think it can be quite hard as well, because I always say, let's say you're volunteering in Thailand, it's always nice to go after and like maybe do a bit of solo travel in Thailand or the rest of Southeast Asia. So when you're packing for the projects, you need to wear like quite modest clothing. A lot of the time in your free time, you can just wear what you want, within reason, obviously. But like when you're with the children, you normally have to cover your shoulders and your knees. So I would say like, you know, be organized. Maybe I always write a notes list, which is really good, and go through like, I want 5, you know, like t-shirts like this, and then swimming costumes and things like that. So being organized, but also if you forget something, there's other volunteers there, so you always end up sharing clothes anyway, and you can borrow this, and you know, there's always shops available if you forget something. And toiletries as well. I run out of toiletries and have to buy more. You can always buy them. clothes and things are replaceable. So, and I take a backpack, but I'm becoming a bit of a suitcase lover, which everybody has heard in the last few days that I'm on month 3 with the backpack, and I actually think a suitcase might be, especially if you're volunteering, because you're in like one spot.
Yeah.
So you're not moving around as much. A backpack in the heat is really heavy and stressful. But I think if you're volunteering, a suitcase is actually a better idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're traveling after being made?
Yeah, maybe a backpack. But honestly, I'm becoming a suitcase lover, which is... But I like a backpack because that's what everyone else has when I'm backpacking. So, yeah.
You just want to be like everyone?
Yeah.
And in terms of budget as well, what do you do? How do you think about that?
Yeah, it's such a hard one because you could go and spend like almost no money because you get your food and accommodation included. But obviously, if you want to go out on the weekend and you want to travel a long distance or even like go to Zanzibar, for example, from Tanzania, that's going to cost you more. I think it's maybe better to like kind of decide what you want to do, like big trips before you leave, and then you can budget for that. Or like you can book some add-ons on the IVHQ website, so you can get that kind of out the way. But it's such a hard one to answer because you could go and spend very, very little, but you could go and, you know, have like spend as much money as you want. So I think kind of getting in order with your finances and like deciding how long you're going for and like what you want to do at the weekends is good.
Okay, so in terms, you're talking about being organized, you're talking about packing, finances, things like that. How far in advance do you usually plan a volunteer trip?
I like to book one maybe like 6 months in advance. I feel like 3 months is like a minimum. I feel like you need to, like I said, be organised. And obviously flight prices last minute are going to be crazy. And you're in, you know, some countries like Ghana, it's a bit of a longer visa process. Some visas you can get on arrival, some you don't need a visa for. But I think 3 months is like a good minimum. I'd say like 4 or 5 months is probably better. But yeah, just to be organised, really, especially if you're going away for a longer time, because you have to kind of prepare to be away for like 3 months and with work or whatever. But yeah, say 3 months.
Very good at organising. I love that. I'm the exact same. I'm like a year. I mean,
I'm so
and I have like a list, and I'm like, and I research everything. To death, you know. Right. All right. I want to do a fun round with you.
Okay.
And I'm just you just say whatever comes to mind. Okay. What is your favorite country that you have been to with IVHQ and why?
This is like asking a mother their favorite child.
What is their favorite child? I know. You have to pick.
I have to pick one. I would say, well, I've been twice. Tanzania.
Okay.
I think it was just so special because like it was kind of a full circle moment. I did the volunteering in 2022 for 6 weeks, and I love Tanzania. Like there's so much to do, and you kind of get like the best of both worlds because you have this like cultural experience, but there's also so much to do there, and you can go on safari, and I loved it. And then I went back in 2024 and I did this group trip with 40 strangers, and it was kind of like a full circle moment because I'd got all these people and they'd come on our trip, and we did safari, we did the Moshi trip. So you go to like, we go and make coffee with locals, and you can go to like the gates of Mount Kilimanjaro. I didn't hike up it. I'm not strong enough to hike up Mount Kilimanjaro.
You didn't go over that.
But yeah, it was just like, and it's really popular, and it's really popular for a reason. I just think it's so amazing that the Tanzanian locals are like the nicest people ever. The staff are amazing, and like even things like Tanzanian music, like the food, the music, everything is so good. But that is really hard to answer. I loved Zambia as well. Honestly, I love them all. Thailand, Vietnam, the staff in Vietnam. Honestly, absolutely love them. Like I feel like it's so generic, but the staff always make it. Yeah. Like it kind of surprised me from like my first time, like how when I got there, I was like, oh, the staff really do impact your experience, and they're always so friendly and they love their job, which is really nice, because they genuinely want you to have a good time. And the other people you're with, like I said, it's not just the volunteering that changes you; it's the people you meet as well, and they become friends for life. Like I went to Australia last month. And I ended up staying, I saw 10 people I've met volunteering.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I stayed with like Alicia, who I met in South Africa. And when we were in South Africa, I was like, you have to come to Tanzania. So she changed her flights and she came.
Oh my God, that takes you.
But it's great. You have friends all over the world.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That sounds amazing. Was there a country that surprised you?
Yeah. I was really excited to go to South Africa, but I feel like South Africa kind of has a bit of a misconception.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to speak for all South Africa. I went to Cape Town. I did the childcare program there, and I think like everybody has this misconception that it's just really dangerous and like, you know, it's quite sketchy. But honestly, I absolutely loved it. Like, it really surprised me. Cape Town is quite affordable, and there's so much to do. Like, you can do Robben Island, which is where Nelson Mandela was in prison. You can learn about the history of South Africa. We went to Lion's Head, I think it's called, and Table Mountain. There's just so much to do in Cape Town, and the staff, again, really nice. The projects are great, and it's nice because where you do the projects, like, the staff drop you off, and because it's in quite a low-income area, it can feel a bit unsafe, but they make sure you're in like in the school safely, and they know all the staff, and they've been working with them for a long time, so it's really good. Yeah, it really surprised me.
If you could go back to a place tomorrow, where would it be?
I think it'd be Cape Town.
Really?
Yeah, but I would want to go back. It's their summer at the minute. I'd want to go back when it's hot. It really surprised me. The accommodation's really nice as well. The food, honestly, is so good. I just loved it. I had a great time.
And do you have like a funny moment that comes to mind?
Oh, I have many funny moments. Honestly, we get we just have funny times. But there was one time when we got to Tanzania, obviously it's like the first few days and everyone's settling in. And we went to like a bar and we did karaoke, and everyone was like really shy because they didn't really know each other. And I was like, I'll break the ice. And we all ended up doing karaoke, and that like really broke the ice. And we did quiz night as well. And I was like, guys, I forced everybody to come to my quiz night, but it really like got everybody to know each other. Yeah. And like I said, some people come with their sister, and I didn't want them to, like, the people that came alone to feel like, oh well, some people have come with their friends or their sister. And it really like bonded us, and I feel like we all really got on. It was so nice. And like the safari, everybody did safari, so there was 40 of us, and you're just like driving through the Serengeti and you're covered in dirt and you've not showered properly, and you know, it is like
you get to know each other.
Yeah, it's like it's really like bonding, and that is like a lot of people's like big highlight of their trip is the safari, and it's so nice that we all got to go on it.
And what's your karaoke song?
It's got to be This Is Africa. What's the name of it? The
Toto?
No.
Rains Down Africa? What is it?
The Shakira one. You know it, because this is Africa.
Oh my god!
And every time they say Africa, I like pull up my tattoo because I think I'm really funny.
I was about to ask, is there like any random thing that has happened to you, like a really random thing? You've met someone, you ran into someone, or I don't know, you thought you were going somewhere and ended up somewhere else, or were you just like the random thing?
There is sometimes like, yeah, this is a good one. When I was in Ghana the first time, must have been there like 6 weeks, and some new volunteers had started, and this guy came in, and I was like, oh, where are you from? And he goes, Manchester. And obviously I was like, oh, where in Manchester? Because I would say Manchester to someone that's not from there. And he tells me, and he lives like 15 minutes away from me, and we met in this random village in West Africa, and he lives 15 minutes away from me and works in my hometown. Oh, yeah, it's a really small world.
Oh, really?
Really small world. I've bumped into people I know in like Chinatown in Bangkok. Like, the world is a small place.
That's quite cool.
Yeah,
actually, I love that. And do you have like a travel fail, like, I don't know, you missed a flight or whatever, you can like that you almost cried, but you can kind of laugh about now?
Yeah, when I went to Tanzania for the first time, so that was my second volunteer trip, I flew from Manchester to Qatar and Qatar to Tanzania, but the plane leaving Manchester was late, so I missed my connection. And I was 19 at the time, and the next flight was in 18 hours, so I was like, oh my God. And then it was just really stressful because 19 hours in an airport is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Managed to get a hotel. It was all good, but I kind of, like, obviously, if you book the flight, like, it's fixable, and the staff in the airport will always help you. And also, other people had missed their connection, so we all kind of congregated together. And it was so easy because I could just contact the local team on WhatsApp and say, I've missed my connecting flight. And it's so normal, like, so many people, I mean, try not to. Yeah. But, you know, if it happens, it's not the end of the world. You just get on the next flight, and they still pick me up, and they're still on time. And, you know, it's things like this happen, and travel disasters happen. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Do you feel like now that you've traveled so much that you feel if they happen again, you'd feel less?
Yeah, I feel like at the time I was like, oh my God, like, this is a disaster. I was like on the phone to my dad, like, I'm stuck in Qatar. But actually, like, maybe it was a silver lining. You don't know, do you know what I mean? And if it happened again, I wouldn't stress, especially if you go in to volunteer, because I was worried that like, oh, they're not going to be there when I arrive. And I just WhatsApped them and said, this is my new flight, and like, this is the time it'll land. And it was like it had never happened, basically.
Oh, that is so good. I think if I was 19 and I missed my flight by myself, I'd just cry.
I was stressed.
Okay. What's one item that you always travel with? Passport?
Well,
aside from your top 3 essentials.
Obviously a passport, but I think packing cubes are always pretty good.
Oh,
yeah. I am a packing cube girl.
Okay.
I feel like you can get more in the bag.
Okay.
A rain jacket, I've learned, is always a good idea, because sometimes you go to places in rainy season and it's really hot, but it could also absolutely pour it down, so that's good.
Is there a country that's still on your bucket list?
I want to do a bit of South America, I've decided. Ooh. Yeah. I would like to go to Brazil. Funnily enough, Manel also wants to go to Brazil.
So you're like, this is actually me
pitching me and Manel on a reunion tour. And it's something I'd love to do with her, so I think that would be really good as well.
Okay, I have a lightning round for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Window or aisle seat?
Window.
Backpack or suitcase?
Suitcase.
Carry on or only a check-in bag?
Check-in bag.
Okay, beach day or city day?
Beach day if it's hot, city day if it's not.
Mountains or ocean?
Ocean.
Early mornings or late nights?
Late nights.
Planned itinerary or go with the flow?
I'm planned.
Yeah, it's not actually a surprise. Hostels or private rooms?
Hostels.
Street food or restaurant meals?
Street food in some countries.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Okay. One word to describe volunteer travel.
Life-changing.
It's true though, it is. I like that. Okay, I feel like that's kind of it for the lightning round, to be honest with you. I feel like you did that. Actually, do you know what? Travel solo or travel with friends?
If you're volunteering, I would travel solo because you'll end up making friends. It's like a guaranteed.
I love that. And I know that this is probably a guarantee. Coffee or tea while traveling?
Coffee. Although I am English.
You were going to say tea.
My mum loves a cup of tea, but I'm not a tea girl.
Okay.
I'm an iced coffee girl.
Yeah. We know this.
You can get great iced coffees in Cape Town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good tip.
The food in Cape Town, even at the house, like the volunteer project, it's all really good.
Okay, passport cover or no passport cover?
No passport cover.
Travel pillow, yes or no?
No.
Photos or memories?
Both. I'm in trouble. I'm not, I like taking pictures.
Okay,
pictures are good.
Night bus or early flight?
Early flight.
Oof. Travel with music or in silence?
Music.
I don't even know what
That's like a silly question.
I know.
I thought I lost my headphones the other day, and I was like, I had to get on a bus. I lost my headphones. I was like, I can't do it. Like, I can't. I found them. That's my travel essential.
Like, land the plane.
Honestly.
I know. I'd be exactly the same as you. Okay. I love that. I feel like the lightning round is done. Okay. What is one word that you would describe volunteer travel?
One word I would use, it's technically 2. I'm going to say life-changing. It's so generic, but it honestly is. I feel like everybody I've met comes back and they're like, that was life-changing. And I also feel like they then tell their friends and they're like, they get to show their friends what they experienced, and it definitely changes your life.
Okay. And what is like the biggest misconception about volunteering abroad?
The biggest misconception about volunteering abroad is that it's not as legit as it looks, and I would definitely say that IVHQ is there to reassure you about that. Obviously, I've never had a problem, and it's all gone really well for me, so I'd definitely say that definitely do your research, and you can read through all the programs and where you want to go and what destinations, and there's so much to do there.
Amazing. And what was the moment that you knew that you'd made the right decision to volunteer?
The moment I knew I made the right decision was when I was in Ghana, my first trip, and we'd gone on a weekend trip. We went to Cape Coast and we were watching the sunset, and these are like people I didn't even know a month ago. I just met them and in Ghana, as you do, and they became like really good friends. And then when you leave, it's really sad. But that's how you made the right decision, because you're so like emotionally attached to these people you've met volunteering, and they like become almost like your best friends, your sisters. And even though it's so sad saying goodbye, that was the best decision.
Oh, I love that. And what was like the hardest part at the beginning?
The hardest part at the beginning was just, like I said, the unknown. Going into the airport and being like, I don't know where I am, and like I don't know what I'm getting myself into. But I think, like I said, once you've got over the first few days, you realise it was so worth it.
And what's the most rewarding part of volunteering?
The most rewarding part of the volunteering is definitely the impact you have on the local community. Whether you're doing like agriculture, construction, teaching, you really know that you're helping another community abroad and you're having like a good impact on their life. And it's like, like if you're doing construction, you might be building a school or painting a school, and even something like painting a school can brighten up their day, because some of the classrooms can be quite dull and dark and the kids love it. So,
and what do you think is one thing people worry about but don't need to?
I would definitely say one thing that people worry about but don't need to is making friends. It's so easy, and it sounds so easy to say that it's so easy, but once you get there, you realise, and everyone's in the same boat. You just one conversation, and you're like, oh, do you want to go out for dinner, or do you want to, come and watch a movie? It's so, and also you not often go to the volunteer placements with other people, so that's really easy because sometimes you obviously have a common interest. So
yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, exactly. So do you feel like everyone was really like-minded?
Yeah, especially like Tanzania. On my group trips, it's predominantly girls, and everyone's really like-minded. And like I said, if you're at the placements doing the same thing, you have that in common, and you can also be like, oh, how did you end up going to Tanzania, or how did you find IVHQ, and it's just really easy to bond with people, especially when you live together. Like living together, you're with them literally 24/7, and you almost can't not make friends. It's impossible to leave without friends. Everybody is so friendly.
I love that. And what do you think the thing is that people have in common that make them do volunteering instead of just doing traveling?
Yeah, I think they want to volunteer abroad because they want to help a community. And I think that's another thing, like you're all there to volunteer, and that's how it's so easy to become friends. You all have that in common. You all want to help. You're all there for a good reason. And I definitely think that they're wanting to make a change in the world, which is really nice.
Okay, so if someone was watching and feels like a little bit nervous about going, what's the advice that you would give to them?
I would say that I also felt nervous. It's really normal. And I would say just go for it. I know it's really cliche to say, but like you do only live once, and it's an opportunity that this might be like the only big trip you do in your life, or you might then do it and then go on to do more IVHQs, where a lot of people have done. I had some people come on all 5 of my group trips. It can get really busy and they love it, but I would definitely say like you've got to push yourself out your comfort zone, because I feel like, I say that, but I will not do a bungee jump. When we were in South Africa, I was like, yeah, push yourself out your comfort zone, and then got to the bungee jump and was like, no. But also, like, going abroad is a big deal, especially to countries that are so far away from home and the time difference. I just think pushing yourself out your comfort zone is a big one. And it's so, like, rewarding to know that you did it.
Yeah.
I think you should definitely do that. It's a good idea to push yourself out your comfort zone.
Life-changing. Some might say. Can you tell us a moment that you felt proud of yourself?
I would say when I did my first group trip to Zambia, we were there for 4 weeks. So we went to Livingstone. There was 27 of us, which I didn't expect to have 27 people come on my first trip, but it was really nice. And they were, people from all over the world. And we went on safari in Botswana, which was really nice because the drive from Livingstone to Botswana is only like 2 hours. So that's an add-on you could do. And just being in Zambia with 27 people, and everybody really loved it, and they, it's like I get to share my experience with everyone else, which is really nice.
That is actually really nice. I'd feel proud of myself for doing that as well, actually. It's a big deal. If you could bring one friend on your not to play favourites again, but if you could bring one friend on your next trip, who would it be and why is it Manel?
It would be Manel, because me and Manel want to go to Brazil. I've met so many great people. Honestly, that's harder than choosing my favourite country. But I do love Manel.
Choose your favourite person.
Manel, we're going to go to Brazil. Honestly, Manel, if you're watching this, we're going to Brazil.
Good. I love it. Is there anything, obviously we talked about like a person who's changed since they started, but what about you? Like you've been traveling for a few years now. You've done so much. Like what do you think is different about yourself?
I feel like I know so much more about the world because I've been to places like Japan and Kenya, Tanzania and Thailand. Like they're all so different. I feel like I have so much more knowledge about the world and meeting people, volunteering. I know about like different cultures from even places I've not been to. I just feel like I'm more confident now. I've done the volunteering and obviously I've done it a few times, so I'm kind of used to it. I know like the whole how it goes and what goes on, and it's really good. I feel like more confident now I've done it.
Nice. Definitely. And what's not changed? You're still a once a yapper, always a yapper?
I still love talking. My mum always shouts at me because she's like, Jess, I send you to the airport. Well, she didn't send me. She dropped me off at the airport. And I come back with like, I text her. I'm like, oh, I've got a new friend from Finland. She's like, how do you meet them? I'm like, I was just sat next to him on the plane. I love it.
I feel like you would be my plane nightmare.
Oh, really? I actually met this lady when I got stuck in Qatar, and we're still friends on Instagram now.
Really?
Yeah. I love her. And she went to Fiji. Not on the IVHQ, but we got talking because I was like, oh, I want to go to Fiji.
That's what you do.
Yeah, so
I would
honestly,
literally be like, okay.
I do think getting you talking gets you places.
That's a good bit of
it really does. It gets you to good places. And like you always, like people are like, you know, even like making friends volunteering. When I went, I have friends everywhere then, so I can go to like, I know there's always a home for me somewhere, or like somewhere to stay, and they show you around like Australia, for example, or wherever. It's nice.
So do you feel like in general, like the world can seem a little bit big and scary, but do you find like mostly if you reach out to people are quite receptive?
Yeah, there's way more friendly people in the world than there is like not friendly people.
So you've been to so many different countries. Yeah. How many have you been to?
43.
43 different countries.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense.
My goal is to get to 50 before I'm 25. Which is looking really doable.
It's looking really doable.
And then maybe like 7. We're going to, you know, I feel like maybe we have to do 100. Well, we've got to get to 195. That's every country.
Every single country.
Yeah. But I also don't want to set that expectation and never do it. That's why I'm like kind of doing it in stages. Yeah. I feel like that's more like realistic.
And what's next for you?
So after here, I'm going to Fiji for 5 weeks. So I'm doing 3 weeks on the IVHQ Fiji program, and then I'm going to travel just around the smaller islands off Fiji for 10 days. And then, I'm going to Samoa. Oh, and then I'm going home.
Amazing.
But it's been 6 months. So I left like end of September. Okay. I got to Bangkok. I had a week in Bangkok, and then I did the IVHQ Thailand program for 4 weeks. Flew to Vietnam on my birthday. Did IVHQ Vietnam for 4 weeks. And then flew to Perth and did some of Australia. Yeah,
that's actually amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us and with our community, because obviously you're so well traveled and you've done so much with us and with our community as well. If you had one thing, like for anyone who is maybe watching this and thinking, oh, I'm on the fence, I'm not sure if I want to go, like what would you say to them?
I would say go for it. It's so rewarding, and you definitely will come back and say that's the best thing I've ever done. And like, if you have the opportunity, you know, you have the time of work, or you've not started university yet, or you've just retired, like now's the time to go. It's never too late. You can always go and experience something new, and it will change your life. I know I've said it before and I'll say it again, but it really will. And you will learn so much about the world, like the new culture, and even things like how to dance in the local culture and what they get up to. And even just in a day-to-day life, the transport can be so different in other countries. So yeah, it's really good.
So if you're on the fence, get off the fence.
Get off the fence. You know, just do your research. Like don't just book somewhere because you've seen it online. Like do your research on what destination you want to go to, because I could go to Thailand or Vietnam and that's not what you want to experience. You might want to go to Brazil or Colombia. So it's about picking what's right for you, I think, rather than just picking somewhere because someone else has been. And also the IVHQ on Facebook, they have IVHQ Facebook groups, and they're really handy because you can go on and you can see like past people who have been, or you can say, oh, I'm going on, let's say the middle of July, and is anybody going then? And that's a really good way to meet people. I did that quite a lot when I just went volunteering. And the IVHQ Facebook groups are really handy to get to know people, and then you can see what people have been up to as well. So that's always a good one. And also, if you have any questions, you can always ask me.
You can always reach out. Well, thank you so much. I think you've answered so many questions today, and we've been able to pick your brain so much. So thank you for your time, and I wish you all the best on your trip to Fiji, and I'm sure we'll see each other again soon.
Thank you.